Man, it's your boy Beatty, man. We out here in the building right now, man.
You're in Winston-Salem, North Carolina.
Man, I'm in North Cackalack, baby. You know how what time it is when we get it down out here. Hey, you're from North Carolina too, right?
I'm from Asheboro, North Carolina, but now I'm here with my my friends, my drum set, my sloth, my monkey, my Tommy Lasorda books, and my Lowe's hardware buckets in California, buddy.
Oh, so you took a little bit of Asheboro out there.
Oh, absolutely. All
Okay.
my baseball equipment and my accent. I've got my Carolina accent.
Oh, hey, you can't lose that.
Hey, this is your usual spot on the Easton handle, Mondays at 4. Thanks for letting me join you. I've been a fan ever since I heard about you, and I've been getting some great nicknames here from the kiddos that have been commenting in. So far, my favorite nickname, it's a mixture between Hollywood and I think we had Big Huddy. Those are my favorite two so far.
Big Huddy.
Anybody jumping in, there's Hollywood. Anybody else jumping in, give me your nickname and where you're from. Maybe I can start that with you, CJ Beatty. What is your nickname?
I mean, it's crazy that you say Hollywood. For real, I was Hollywood, baby. All that.
And now
my top two nicknames that they gave me was either Hollywood, because I felt like you look good, you play good. I had the wristbands on. I always had to have the custom cleats, and this was before they started making tennis shoes into cleats. Like I was sending them in to get done. You know what I'm saying? Like send it customcleats.com. Say, hey, yo, put some spikes on the bottom of these because I got to be fresh. I got to have the J's on my feet.
I'm loving it. Davy Bag of Donuts. That's another one of my favorites right now. Davy Bag of Donuts. I'm big on nicknames because as a coach, and we're both motivators and coaches, it gives me a chance to get to know the player. So when let's say I'm coaching CJ Beatty and I see all that pizzazz that you bring, Hollywood, it just fits. And then for me, like when I ask a kid their nickname, it kind of gives them this vibe that they're a superhero of sorts. Like they step into this different kind of extraterrestrial being. And it's just my way of kind of relating to the players. And I've learned a lot of that from you, watching you, seeing how you engage, relate. The baseball, softball motivator, I just want to start out with this question for you, and we can go back and forth with questions. But you played pro ball for 7 years. You went to A&T. I played some baseball at A&T. I went to Brown University, but we came back to my home state and played some baseball there. When did you get that voice in your head that said, I'm supposed to be a big impact on kids? When did that come?
That really started. I mean, it's crazy. I have two stories. The first story, real quick story, was when I decided that if and when I ever became a professional athlete, that I was going to sign every kid's autograph. In Winston-Salem, they had the Warhogs, right?
Right.
That was the team growing up for me. I always wanted to go to a Warhog, and they were the high-end affiliate of the White Sox. So I remember going to a game one time, and the shortstop was my favorite player. I waited after the game. The lines kind of cleared down, and here I am, about this tall. I get all the way down to the bottom, and my favorite player walked away from me. And he could have been tired. He could have signed a lot of autographs. But at that time, I was devastated. I really was devastated as a little kid. And I remember going home to share that with my mother, and she told me, CJ, well, listen, if you ever get the opportunity to make a kid's life special, signing autographs, you make sure you stay and sign everybody's.
I like it.
And I remember that. Like, I'm telling you that now. I'm in my 30s, and I'm telling you that story from back when I was, maybe 7 or 8 years old. I remember that. I vividly remember that too. So that was the first thing that helped me transition into being a motivator. And then the second one was just following, I remember being in the dentist offices or the doctor's offices, and they had the Sports Illustrated magazines. Remember those?
Oh, yeah.
The Sports Illustrated magazines. for kids, and they would showcase professional baseball players and other athletes going to elementary schools and speaking at the schools. And since they were my idols, since Ken Griffey Jr. was my idol, and I saw him in elementary school speaking to kids and having all the kids swarm him and stuff like that, I couldn't help but to say, man, I want to be like Griffey one day because the kids love him.
Yeah.
So when I became a professional, man, I couldn't wait to go to elementary schools to speak in the off season. I couldn't wait to go to the schools and, tell them to believe in their dreams because my idols did it for me. So that's how I got kickstarted on that journey of being a motivator, man.
I love it. I'm the same way. I went to college and didn't really have any idea what I wanted to do other than what I loved doing, which was playing baseball, playing music, and just writing comedy, improv, just enjoying life, basically. That's what I love to do. But I always loved working with kids, and the people that I looked up to growing up and the people I remember to this day when I look back, motivators, coaches, like those, you remember those bands that would come to your elementary school or your middle school or your high school during a pep rally or during a special event? Like I wanted to be that person that came to a school for a big special event. And I went to school to be a teacher, and I was almost there, but then I thought, I got to be outside. I need to be outdoors on a baseball field. Can I be a motivator? Can I be a teacher on a baseball field? The only thing really stopping me was me and my own fear of trying to do something that I really wanted to do, And so once I got myself out of the way and my wife gave me a good shove in the B-honkus and said, hey, go do this thing, go be Coach Ballgame, then, it all fell into place. But yeah, I had to become, and I had to make a living doing something that I love doing. And definitely, like you said, with your Ken Griffey Jr. moment, like being that kind of an impact, there's no better joy than seeing a kid go from here to here in a matter of a day or a week, or just my voice can bring so much impact. So fist bump to you, my friend, for taking the road less traveled, but it's very gratifying. That's my first question for you. You take the floor now, man. What do you want to talk about?
One thing that I like, let me tell you something. When it comes to evaluating people, when it comes to, and I always tell my followers, be careful who you associate yourself with, right? You need to be, it's very important. You take care of the people that's around you, but most importantly, be careful of the people that's around you. Because if you believe that what you hang around is what you become, then I have to be very careful who I hang and associate myself with.
Yeah.
And the reason I say that, Coach Ballgame, is because, before I even knew of Coach Ballgame, I was able to connect with you through your content to say, this guy's energy and what he brings to the table is infectious, it's positive, and it's what we as a society needs. So I just wanted to really, the question that I want to direct to you is, how do you, I know what they say as far as what you're supposed to do, but nobody's perfect. So back in your days when you were struggling with adversity, fear, doubt, worry, because we're playing arguably one of the toughest sports known to man in baseball.
Oh yeah.
So for the listeners on here that kind of struggle still with slumps, bad weekends, a bad day of practice, a bad week, feels like a bad season, it feels like a bad year. How did you teach yourself, or what clicked for you to be able to say, this is who I am, this is who I want to be, this is my attitude moving forward, this is my outlook of life, take that and run with it?
Sure. Well, I mean, I've had as many struggles as anybody else, and I was a 5'10" white boy that had average speed, and I wanted to be a professional baseball player. So that that did not turn into what I wished, which was a Major League Baseball career. I got to college, and I was a good athlete, but I didn't really have a great hitting coach growing up. So I just kind of lived off athleticism. And then I started facing the Justin Verlanders of the world and started slumping and going 0 for 25. And those moments along the way, whether that be struggling in biology class, I really wasn't great in biology class, or failing my driver's ed test the first time I failed that driver's ed, right? These things, it's like, especially when you're a teenager, the world, anytime something bad happens, when a girlfriend broke up with me, I would just go in my room and the world would just crash down on me, right? And I just sat there in that moment and was just kind of speechless and motionless, couldn't really move. And then every single time, whether it was when I'm in a slump in baseball, school, life, girls, whatever it was, there was always this one positive influence, and it was always a person. I don't know if it was a coach or a teacher or what. Sometimes my brothers, sometimes my mom, sometimes my dad. My dad always had a way of making me laugh. But those people in those moments that I kind of turned to or gravitated to towards when I was feeling sad, those were the happiest, most positive, good people in my world. And so I started to I don't know if they found me or I found them, but I sought after the most positive person I could find in those moments of struggle, and I just said, I'm going to sit down on your couch and hang out with you for an hour and just be with you and do your thing. And it would always help me out so much. So in this age of Instagram and YouTube and social media, for a kid to have a bad day and then know, oh yeah, I got CJ Beatty, I got the baseball motivator, I can go check in on an IG live with him. I made a bad decision yesterday. I feel guilty about it. And then I can go him, and I can even type to him, and I can say, hey, CJ, I made a bad decision yesterday. I lied. I feel bad. Did you ever do that? Did you ever have anything like that? So for me to be able to have somebody that I could lean on, lean against, and say, I messed up, or I feel terrible. Do you relate with me? And then to have them just feed positivity into me. That's where I went. I went to other people. I couldn't stay in that place of sadness very long. I had to go find my motivator, whoever that might be. So that pushed me to sports. That pushed me to go into Alan Ashkenazi, Coach Allen, who Greensboro Bat Center. That guy, you can't be sad around that dude. So no. I'm 0 for 15. I'm going to Al, and I'm just going to sit and let him just make me laugh for a half an hour. Yeah. So as I grew and found out how much positive people impact me, I wanted to become that person for the next generation. And I've always looked at things, I have a lot of serotonin. I am a positive person when I wake up for the most part. So that plus the passion I have to just make people happier and make people laugh, especially in dire situations like COVID-19, this is the job for me. And so I ran for it. Once I knew this is really what I wanted to do, I ran as fast as I could to become that person that really helped me in those times. I'll throw the same question back at you. I mean, the struggles in life, teenage years, middle school, high school, bullying, negativity, slumps. Where did you go? Where did you find solace?
Man, everything that I wanted to do in life, I wanted to be the best. Like, I wanted to be the best. And when I got a taste of kind of what the best was, like when you're one of the best players on the team, and you like the compliments. I'm talking about like when you're in Little League, like you just like, you know if you're one of the better players on your Little League team, you know that, right?
Sure. Yeah.
So when I got a taste for that, I wanted it more. But my dad told me something. He said, you're going to have to learn how to let the pain hurt to get towards greatness. So when he told me that, I was like, look, you just got to work beyond the pain. I know it stings. I know failure doesn't taste good. Failure doesn't feel good when you're riding in the car and you got your parents, you know, all on you about why you didn't do something, You're already down yourself, and now you feel like you're being attacked by them as well. I get it. But the thing about it is that I understood is no matter what, you have a decision. And the decision is to go left and quit or do nothing, or go right and do something about it. And I started to learn this equation in life. The more you put in, the more you get out. Yeah. And when you start to apply that to everything, that really helps uplift you. Because whenever I got hit with adversity, my routine was, I know what I need to work on. I can't wait for practice tomorrow. And if there's no practice tomorrow, I'm gonna work out by myself. I'm gonna go get it. I'm gonna go get after it. So for me, man, handling failure is what, like I have a quote that I live by now. Never be afraid of failure, because without failure, success becomes nearly impossible. So we shouldn't be afraid of failure, because without failure, success is nearly impossible. I don't like those odds when you say nearly impossible. I don't like that.
I use that quote all the time as far as don't be afraid of failure, because I see the practice version of a lot of my kids and then the game version of some of my kids. They're not afraid of failure in practice, and they're hitting bombs left and right. They get in the game, there's a different version of them, afraid of failure version of them, 0 for 5, 3 strikeouts, and they walk home sad, right? So that idea that treat the game as if it's practice, or not being afraid of the outcome or the failure that could come, you're going to have way more fun during the process of the game, and you're going to perform way better. So I like how you phrased it. You kind of outworked the pain. Like you saw the pain and you just kind of put your head down and you worked through it. For me, a second thing that I've found to work when you're in kind of a slump or you've hit a down point is just being selfless, just starting to think about another person, a good teammate. And, you know, one of my proudest achievements is being called the best teammate at Brown University. I batted .241 one season. I had a huge slump, but the fact that I was voted as best teammate, I had to go there. I was digging myself into a hole thinking about me and my at-bats and my failures, but I kind of went back to those people that motivated me as a kid were the positive people through the negative and the positive. So I just started making my teammates laugh. Like, and sometimes it would be jokes about me going 0 for 20 or doing things, or maybe I would just act a little goofy, run a little too fast to my position, or scream a little too loud from the dugout just to make my teammates laugh at me. But thinking about others and trying to make my teammates feel better, that, and then like you said, working through, just outworking the pain. I mean, that's a great remedy for getting through these tough times. I'm wondering, how are you getting through this coronavirus? You know, you thrive, as do I, on human contact, going to schools, teaching, motivating. So how have you gotten through this?
Just, you know what, I gave myself about too much time, really, but it's something that caught us all off guard. But I gave myself the time to grieve, the grieving process, because it's traumatizing, it's traumatic, it's a tragedy how COVID has come in and put a pause on the planet.
Yeah, really.
So, and that right there was something that nobody saw coming. But at the end of the day, no matter the size of the issue or the problem or situation, the question still still lies right there in front of you. What are you going to do about it? Like, what are you going to do? So I had to, after my sulking and I wish I could travel and looking out the window and everything, and then seeing they were on a lockdown and can't do anything, I just said, you know what? There's things that I'm going to do, and I'm not going to get in my own way. I'm not going to stop myself from being a success. Yeah. You know, it was some things that I wanted to do later on in life. I just said, you know what? I'm going to do it now. Why? Because I have time. Yeah. So now I'm actively writing a book. I'm writing a book now. I have my co-author meetings once a week, 6 a.m. We get up there. We talk about it for an hour, and then we pick back up where we left off. So that'll be out come this summer. Early
there you
fall.
Go.
I got my music, volume 5 dropping same time, late summer, early fall. And I launched yesterday my podcast. You know, they've been begging me to get a podcast, and now I have a podcast dedicated to travel ball parents, coaches, and players. You know, so at the end of the day, it's like I'm liking it now. You know, because I'm getting more time to do the things that I've always said I don't have enough time to do. Mm-hmm. So this is giving me time, but it's all perspective. You know, it's all perspective, because I can still make excuses and say, man, I'm not traveling, or I can't go do this, or man, this is weird. I mean, how much longer? I'm depressed. I'm this. I said, you know what? No, I'm not feeling sorry for myself anymore. I got to step up to the plate, and it's time for me to get hit for my squad.
There you go, man. That's great.
Get hit for my squad.
Yeah. I grieved for a second, and then I just immediately started looking for silver linings and ways to create brand new. And so I've done the virtual thing. We have music time with my 2 daughters now. I mean, usually I'm gone, and I'm a second shift worker, so I don't really see my kids grow up. And I got a 6-year-old and a 2-year-old daughter. Now I do. We have music time. I got to see my 6-year-old ride a bicycle for the first time. She did it for the first time the other day. What happened if I'd have been on the baseball field? So there's a lot of bad out there because of this virus, but what are you going to do about it? And, you know, you're going to make something good come from it. I'm interested in your podcast because I've written a blog on travel ball, and I feel like the ways of the Sandlot, or the way we grew up playing the game and playing multiple sports and playing year-round, football, basketball, baseball, and then do it again. There's a dichotomy between there's a juxtaposition of a player that's played professional baseball for 7 years, player that's played college baseball, a college coach, a Major League Baseball manager, the narrative there, and the narrative coming from a travel ball parent or a travel ball coach that hasn't played the game of baseball at a high level. They're very, very different. And one of the main things I'm trying to do with my platform is to just educate parents and travel ball coaches on how travel ball can be a great thing, especially for the elite player, but how the approach has to be a certain way. And I'd just like to hear I'd like to hear your stance on travel ball, the pros, the cons. How do we make it better?
Yeah, and it's great that you bring that question up, because the episode that we dropped tonight, episode 1, is that, and it's geared towards the travel ball parents.
Well, I won't make you put any, don't throw everything out of the bag that you put into that podcast, but just in a general sense, what have you seen, and how can we make this travel ball thing better?
I think the most important thing, how it starts from the head of the snake. I think it starts with the coaches. You know, you can't blame the kids; they're kids, right? And you really can't all the way blame the parents, because some of the parents are non-athletic or they never played the sport. You know, so it comes down to the responsibility of the coach. I think that the industry will get better as a whole when the coaches start holding themselves accountable with becoming students of the game all over again. Mm-hmm. You know, a lot of times coaches, And I'm speaking to coaches that are 20, 30 years in the game, because they feel, my high school coach told me something, Coach Dale Imes in Kernersville, North Carolina, when he coached at Glenn High School. Dale Imes said something that was so profound and simple, but it still sticks today and makes so much sense. He said, CJ, whenever you stop dreaming, you're dead. Whenever you stop learning, you're dead.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, what do you mean by that? He says, because if a person that walks around on this earth thinking that they know it all, then what else is there to do in life? A purpose-filled life is a person that goes around and passes out and gives away its wisdom and knowledge to people.
Yeah.
But how can you teach somebody what you know whenever you're saying you know it all? So it was like, he said, you never want to be associated with the person that knows it all. Once you stop dreaming, once you stop learning, you're dead. Yeah. So I think that's where it starts. It starts right then and there. It says these coaches, and I like the fact that they have coaches conventions. I like the fact that, those are starting to grow. I like the virtual seminars are starting to grow. More podcasts are coming in, and these are great resources and tools to help the coaches out. But I just really think it comes from educating the coaches, because they're the ones that's going to get the knowledge to trickle down the tree.
It's true. And I'm starting to see some former major leaguers. Marlon Byrd, he's coaching some travel ball now. You're getting heavy hitters that are now coaching 12, 13, 14 year-old travel ball players. I mean, that's good. That is good, because then all the parents are going to look up to a Marlon Byrd and listen to what he's saying. And when he's saying, we don't need to win this tournament right now. We need to build skills. We need to make them better people. And we need to make sure that they are loving the game of baseball. Then everybody else will follow. So I agree with that, even to the point of Little League or youth baseball at any level, youth sports in general. Great youth sports. It stands on the backs of educators and great coaches. So you and me, we doing our thing. It's definitely helping a lot of parents out there approach the game in a better way. Yeah, your turn. You go, brother.
I know one thing that I would like to do, because we get a lot of great ones on here. I like to turn it on the listeners, man. The guys tuning in right now. What questions is really on the top of your mind right now? What are some questions that could be that needs to be answered for you to help take your game to the next level? I know we talked about dealing with failure a little bit. We touched on it. But, we have Coach Ezra on here, and he's a good friend of mine. I know, Coach, you probably got some great things to talk about as well. But I want to hear from the followers right now. What are some great questions that you just need answers to, or better understanding? That's what it's here for. I know while you're starting to think about it and use the comments section, or also use the Q&A section, press the question mark down there to submit your question. But before we get into that, let me tell you, if you're a young listener, if you're a parent, something to tell your kids, if you're a coach, something to tell your players. Teach them how to open up their mouths to ask questions.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's important, because you can't get past the elementary of this.
Yeah.
Closed mouths don't get fed. And you also can't get past the elementary of this. The fastest way to an answer is by asking a question.
Yep.
So therefore, it bothers me, and I've been there before. Coach, you've been there before.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever you're at these camps and you ask, hey, does anybody have any questions? And then silence falls over 200 kids.
Oh, yeah.
Or back when we were smaller and somebody asked for questions, and then you're like, you look around at, who wants to be that first person. But what I want to do is empower these kids today to be able to say, no, I'm standing up for myself. I want to get to the big leagues. I want to accomplish my dreams and goals. I need to ask these questions. And if I don't feel comfortable, asking in front of people, when this is over with, I'm going to make sure I go pull on that sleeve of that coach and say, hey, coach, do you have a second?
Mm-hmm.
You know, do you have a second? Or I might not feel comfortable on the slide to follow me and Coach Ballgame or Easton Baseball and put a DM right there and say, hey, I just want to ask you this question because I need a better understanding.
That's
Ask
good.
more questions, guys.
I love it. Yeah. Rod Carew once said, there's always an answer for a question. And especially with us, you've got it. I mean, there's no such thing as a bad question. I saw one from, I believe this is Water Slide. He's a camper of mine. When is travel ball not good for a player at 9 years old? And go ahead, Coach CJ. What do you think there? Travel ball.
When for a player that's 9, when is it not good? When he's not developing. First of all, when he's not developing, but at the end of the day, I have this rule, Coach. At the age of 9 and 10, ain't no pro scout within a 3,000-mile radius.
They're not in the stands. They're not in the bleachers.
They're nowhere near, okay? Not even a college coach. I know recruiting is getting earlier and earlier, but it ain't made it that far yet. You got another, 30, 40 years before we start recruiting 9 and 10-year-olds. That's crazy, right? Trying to get a verbal from a 9 and 10-year-old. That's crazy, right?
That's kind of nutty.
But the one thing that I think should lead with, I know development is key, but let's start on the foundation of fun.
That's it.
Let's start with the foundation of fun, because if you put the cart before the horse, if you put development before fun for a 9 or 10-year-old, now it's almost a job. They don't have the intellect. They don't have the intellect to understand that, you got to grind. But no, a 9 and 10-year-old grinding?
Yeah. Nope. You can't compartmentalize that at all. So, no. I would agree. A coach at any level, especially 9, 10, 11 years old, look through this lens. Are you making each kid a better person every time you're around them? And are you making them want to come back next year? If you just look through that lens, if those are the glasses you're looking through, then everything else is good to go. All right.
Hey, Coach, say that again, Coach. That was good. Say that again.
Yeah, the lens that a coach, a Little League youth coach of any sport, 9, 10, 11, 12 years old, are you making each kid a better person every time you're around them? And secondly, are you causing them to want to come back next year by the way you're coaching them? That's it. Period. You've done your job. If you can thumbs up to both of those. Wins, doesn't matter. I don't remember how many games I won. I don't remember my batting average when I was 9, 10, 11, 12 years old. But I remembered I had a coach named Alan Ashkenazi that made me want to come back next year because he was so fun.
Yes.
So I'm very passionate about that. I don't know if you can tell. We had another great question here. How do I take my confidence in practice into games? I'll jump on that first, and then maybe you can piggyback. Just for me, I really found something when I was 0 for 21, and I stepped into the batter's box, and I said, I'm going to treat this next at-bat like it is practice. And I know it's different for everybody, but for me, that is what calmed my anxiety and my heartbeat down. It slowed my heartbeat, and it caused me to be able to let the ball travel like I do in batting practice, like I do in my backyard when my dad or my brother's throwing to me. I'm not worried about striking out because there's no umpire or scoreboard. So when I just erased the scoreboard, erased the umpire, and just said, let's just treat this like practice, things started to work out, and I came out of that slump. So that's one little nugget from me. What about you?
I like to look at it. That's great, Coach, because one thing, too, is I don't want people to feel like, well, Coach Ballgame said something. Well, CJ said, my other coach said something. My dad said, listen, there's so many ways. There's so many ways to accomplish what this kid was asking.
Yep.
Okay. So I want people to understand you got to find what shoe fits you. Okay. And that comes from not being afraid to fail, not being afraid to try certain things that you hear to see if it works for you. Mm-hmm. For me, what helped increase my confidence was turning up the intensity at practice, because I felt like I was so prepared at practice. I practiced so hard, and like I remember if we were facing a tough pitcher, that had velocity. Our coaches prepared us by bringing the L screens super close to us. It didn't make sense at first, but I saw what they were trying to do.
Yep.
Once we overcame the L screen being close and we started to hit it, our eyes lit up like, whoa, we're hitting coach throwing at us this fast. It really increased my confidence for the game the next day. Because I'm like, well, shoot, if I can hit coach, I can definitely hit anything. You know what I'm saying? So I would say one of the tips is to not only put the tee down the middle every time.
Yep.
You know, work on that outside corner. Work on that inside corner. You know, when you're hitting batting practice or flips or working out, work 2-strike situations. You know, work on that, what your approach is and things like that. When you turn up the intensity of practice, it's going to help you step into that box come game time saying that I'm ready.
That's great. Prepared. It's really good. I have a background in writing and acting and theater, and something that across the board, athletes, actors, there's this quote, over prepare and practice so you can throw it all away come game time, right? You've written all these notes for your play or for your game. You've written all these notes, done all these practices. You've worked hard. You've kind of sped up practice in a sense. Now throw all that into the trash and just react, just be. And that was a big one for me, and I preach that to all my kids playing baseball, basketball, whatever sport. If you want the game to feel slow, then speed up practice. But don't take the fun out of practice either.
Yeah, we have a good one right here. I think he said Todd said, Coach CJ, how you doing? Doing great. When do you think is a good time to start reaching out to schools? I tell the same story that I've told a dozen times before because it was shocking for me, bro. It was really shocking for me. Here I am at East Carolina University, North Carolina. I'm at East Carolina University, home of the Pirates.
That's right.
And I was coaching a 13 and under team. No intention on speaking to a college coach or a recruiter or anything like that. So I'm in the dugout. My team is out there in right field getting their swings in. I'm writing down a lineup. Here comes the assistant coach for ECU. Say, hey, coach, how you doing? And I said, I'm doing all right, man. How you doing today? He said, good. He had a slight pause, and he looked at me, and he says, do you have any players that I should take a look at? I kind of looked up at him, and I smirked at him, and I was just like, what? Yeah, I mean, I guess if you're looking for some 13-year-old boys, I know they're big, but they're 13. I don't understand what you're doing. He says, he started laughing. He put his head down, and it looked like he was kind of embarrassed to ask that question. But he said, you know what? That's what we have gotten to at this point in the recruiting process. And my team was full of 8th graders.
Wow.
And he said we have to, we're not going after 8th graders, but if a coach does tell us on a high caliber team that this is a guy or the guy, or we need to go after him, we trust their opinion and we give them a look during the game to see if that's somebody we want to go after. So I was just like, man, that's crazy, because when I was coming up, you didn't really go after schools until like the summer of your sophomore year when it came to attending camps. And you didn't start getting letters until, the junior year, that fall time of your junior year. So you didn't think about recruiting until like your junior year. Because remember, if you think about it, nobody really scouts didn't go to JV games. So back in the day, 9th and 10th grade, you just knew you was on JV.
Yep.
So you didn't start the recruiting process until you got to varsity.
That's true.
So it's like, times have changed now, because now recruiting doesn't start just going to a high school game anymore. It's like, yo, I'm going to Georgia. I'm flying out to California. I'm going to Texas at these big tournaments in travel ball to go see some players. So to answer that question, for me, I would say just get yourself ready. Be ready at all ages, but just know that you need to get on your horse, especially in the 9th grade, to start to solidify your weaknesses, get those better, perfect your strengths, because eyes are on you. And if you're really good, eyes are on you in the 8th grade.
And on that subject of eyes are on you, I'm reading in Tommy Lasorda's book, great manager for the Dodgers. He said, I never let a kid with determination. I always gave that kid a chance, and that word determination and just kind of the optics of what a ball player looks like. Let's say you're a ninth grader and you're at a showcase or a tryout, or you're just on a high school team. You don't know who's in the stands. There could be your future college coach in the bleachers at your 8th grade basketball game. And if they notice the determination you have and the way you're playing defense, they might want you to play center field for them one day, all because they saw something in your determination, in your effort, the work ethic that you have. So for me, you are continually building on those skills. But I think more importantly, and what's way clearer in a coach's brain as far as what they remember, is the hustle, the great teammate, the character, what kind of character you have, what kind of person you are. That is so huge. They'll teach you how to throw a curveball in AA baseball, but that I don't know if they can teach you how to have work ethic, how to be a good person, or maybe they just don't want to. They don't want to spend the time having to do that because they got to teach you how to throw a curve. So I think be on top of looking like a ball player, just acting like a ball player. Kind of on that note there, I wanted to hit this up with you, and keep the questions coming. We will try to get to them. But there are some kids, and I'll have them be watching my Sandlot virtually, and some kids sound positive. Some kids might throw in some bad language, or maybe some bad words, some negativity, maybe because they think it's cool. I kind of want to hear it from you, CJ. I mean, what is your stance on where do you stand on that as far as being respectful, being kind, the words you choose to say, where are you in that place?
It's in Scout Talk, they taught me that in Scout school when I became a Scout with St. Louis. It's the makeup. It's the makeup of the athlete. And it says a lot. To one Scout, he might look at it as grittiness. But to majority of the Scouts, he might look at it as a red flag. So why would you chance that? One Scout might say, hey, a couple words slip out. It's okay, son. Don't even worry about it. It doesn't reflect your character. I see what you're doing on the field. But the other eight of the 10 Scouts are saying, nah, that's a red flag. I don't want to go after it, because if he has a mouth like that, or he might talk to us, the coaches, like that as well, or his teammates. We don't want to go after this guy for this scholarship. We don't want to go after this guy for this pro contract. So that's what I would say right there in a nutshell, is be very, very smart on what you post on social media. Be very, very smart on what you think you do behind closed doors. Like, oh, man, this is not baseball season. So I don't have to take this serious right now. I can just goof around and do whatever and say whatever. No. And also take your education serious, because of the fact that when you're a college scout, the first thing that they say after they see that I love this kid's ability, they go to the coach and they say, please tell me this kid's grades is where they need to be. That's the first thing that they're going to say, because if they're not going to waste their time asking any more questions. Yeah, that's what college scouts ask. They'd be like, "Oh my God, dang, this kid! What year is this? What year is he? Well, how old is he? Where did he come from?" And then after all that happens, the next big $1 million question is, "Please tell me this kid's education is where it needs to be. His grades are great."
Yeah, and I can tell you this, that that there's some super talented kids out there, right? Super talented kids, but there's a lot of those super talented kids. And from what I've read and the coaches I've talked to, the scouts I've talked to, if you've got two super talented kids and something that needs to put you over the hump, it's character, it's grades. They're going to go to that. And if you're tied with somebody for that right field spot, and this one's got better grades, this one's more respectful, this one posts more positive posts on Twitter, that means a lot. That goes a long way. So you don't want any coaches having to block you from Instagram because you're saying negative things, mean things. And for me, it's not as cool as you might think. As a young fifth grader, sixth grader, seventh grader, the language it's not as smart as what you could say. I think of it like this: pick a smart thing to say, like photosynthesis or habeas corpus, or just anything smarter than the four-letter that comes out. That might be a red flag for 8 out of 12 scouts, like you said. So, just super important again, as educators, as coaches, to look through the lens of making kids better, leaning into that, and then making them want to enjoy the game. So, what other questions we got?
Let me see.
Yep, character. That's right, Coach Hess. Character is everything. I'm only a sophomore, and I want to really let y'all know that someone, if you're sure watching, yeah, there's always somebody watching.
Here's a good one right here. The real, I think J Real, right there. The real J Real says, "How do I keep my son on track to improve without a season? He's 10, almost 11." So I guess here we are with another COVID-19 question, which is okay because everybody's going through it. And he says again, "How do I keep my son on track to improve without a season? He's 10, almost 11. Well, first of all, this is to the parents. This ain't just to shove a bucket of balls and a tee in their hand and say, go ahead. These kids need navigation. And they, first of all, need motivation, to be motivated during these tough times. We process things differently as adults. You have to be able to motivate your kids, coaches, your players to see beyond the storm that's going on right now. You need to focus your conversations on the sunny day that comes after every storm. That's what the conversation needs to be focused on. So again, Jay Real, great question for you. I'm gonna start off by saying this. First of all, when you talk to your son, let him know that everybody is being affected by this. But you want him to know that in order for you to be strong and come out better than a lot of the other kids in his league or on his team, you have to put in a little bit more work, okay? And we're going to get together as a family. We're going to get on these lives together. We're going to listen. We're going to talk about it. We're going to watch things together on YouTube. We're going to watch old ball games and talk about, look at the different stances that you see. Be more engaged, creative. Be more engaged but creative on how to keep him motivated during this storm, because storms don't last forever.
It's true.
If you use this time to distract him and say, hey, put the carrot in front of the rabbit and say, listen, we want you to be 10 times better than you were 2 months ago. And how you're going to do this is because I'm going to help you stay motivated and stay hungry. And I cannot wait for your peers, your teammates to see you when this is all over with. It's going to come from motivation.
And how motivating is that to think, okay, I'm out working everybody else right now because me and my mom, me and my dad are watching CJ Beatty or watching Coach Ballgame. By the way, kids, parents, we are doing way more free, open, virtual. So I am teaching in my backyard, Instagram Live, YouTube Live, things that usually I only teach to one kid in a batting cage. So, I mean, there is so much information out there to consume, but the key part that I love what you said is the parent trying to consume it with the player. That way, you both are learning this together. The parent is kind of learning what vernacular really works for their kid, what different skills they need to work on. But how motivating is it if we can just put our head down and build skills together? Our relationship will be better. Mom, dad, daughter, father. We'll build our relationship, and when we come back, everybody will be like, man, what's that kid been doing? He's throwing 92 now. He's hitting the ball way further than he did. Hey, it's it's a great time to get stronger. And so, yeah, keep after it skill development wise in these tough times.
I like that. Well, let's get a couple more, Coach, and I got to get on. I got to get on with my podcast for tonight.
You got Mr. Podcast, folks. We got, it's 4:52. Maybe one more question. We'll keep throwing those questions at us because they brought up a sophomore. Yeah, how do I keep my intensity with towel drills while I pitch? I mean, it's legs. It's a lot of legs for me as far as pitching goes, especially at a young age. You want your arm healthy and ready to go when you're 17, not when you're 11. So no curveballs, 70% with the arm, 120% with the legs. That's where I look at pitching at 11, 12, 13 years old, because there's no scouts in your backyard or in the stands for the next couple of years. So use the legs, build the arm up, keep it healthy. And that just goes for everything. As far as thinking of things as a player, and this might be a good ending point, and a coach, look big picture. All right. Mm-hmm. Right now, this small picture, we're in quarantine, and everything kind of seems like, well, let's just do this video game thing right here, small, sad. Or we look at this big picture. I don't need to throw a curveball when I'm 9. I don't need to win this July 4th travel ball tournament when I'm 11. I need to make sure that I'm enjoying the game, having fun, building my skills. And then when this quarantine is over with, there's another big picture outlook of I'm going to be way better when it comes to tryout. Maybe we can end on that, Coach. Just small picture view versus big picture, and why all these major leaguers, they're thinking big picture.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the most important thing is for people to understand. That's what the saying "begin with the end in mind" comes from. You begin with the end in mind. That's what helps you get through tough times. When you want to get through this pandemic, here's how you do it. Focus on your dreams. Learn how to become a professional dreamer. Know what the grass smells like when you get out there. See yourself turning that double play. See yourself getting that base hit that scores an RBI to bring your team on top. Like, learn how to close your eyes and dream and visualize that. That's going to help you create more hunger inside of you to get out there and work more for it. I'm going to tell you something. It's not easy to work through this COVID-19. It's not. But like they say, the strong will survive. And what are you? Mm-hmm. Are you going to be strong during these times? Are you going to be one of the ones that stuck with it and can reap the benefits from all the hard work that you put through daily at home? Or are you going to be one of the ones that started out with the drills, but then fizzled away? If you're one of the ones that fizzled and you're on this live right now, own up to it. Say, hey, apologize to yourself in the mirror, because that's the only person you're really letting down. And then after that, get after it. Get back on the horse. Get back on the horse. Pump those legs. Get after it. Put your war paint on. And go to war.
You fired me up, Coach. I got to play my drum. I got to play on my.
Hey, you already know.
Yeah. I'm ready to go. Let's go. Give me my war paint. Give me my Easton bat. I'm ready to go.
Man, that's what I'm talking about, man. Hey, Coach Ballgame, I really appreciate it, man. I mean, you are a treat. You're unique. You're somebody that the world needs tenfold, bro. I mean, so thank you so much for all that you do. You're very inspirational. Continue what you're doing, bro. And I'm just proud to know you and to call you a part, to say that you're a part of the TBM family, man.
Likewise, my friend, you are doing great things. Keep it up. You inspire me and a lot of other coaches that are trying to do the same thing. So enjoy the podcast. Go listen to CJ's podcast, folks. And we'll go eye black salute. We'll go double bicep salute. And how about an attaboy on 3? 1, 2, 3.
Attaboy.
Attaboy.
Yeah. Appreciate you, Coach Ballgame.
All right. North Carolina.